So I got to play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown early, and boy do we have to talk about it today. Want to thank Ubisoft for inviting me to have some early hands-on gameplay time. I got to experience roughly 3.5 hours of this game, and as somebody who is a huge fan of the Metroidvania style games with a modern coat of paint, we absolutely have to unpack why I believe a lot of fans of this genre need to pick up this game day one. I know I certainly will, and I would like to stress that all of these thoughts are my own and my own gameplay impressions, because it is not a paid sponsorship opportunity, but rather just an invite, which is very cool. It's the first time for me as being a content creator to get some hands-on playtime with a game that hasn't been officially released. This game is out on January 18th, and it became very clear to me early on that I would be purchasing this game as a day one buy. And I want to start this conversation with the most exciting and largest portion of this game that I want to cover with you all, which is the gameplay experience itself. Right out of the gate, I had very similar vibes to my experience with Metroid Dread, in the sense that yes, you were playing a 2D action-adventure platformer with beautiful, modern-looking visuals and really intense cutscenes that actually are fully rendered out in 3D and has an enticing story that we'll dive into in a minute. But in terms of the gameplay and combat, while you're not Samus shooting a charge beam, and this is all primarily focused around sword combat, that of course you were up close to enemies to pull off all of your combos and things, it has that hardcore difficulty sense of you really have to time things correctly and learn your chain combos and learn the parry system and timing in order to progress. I played this on the warrior difficulty, which there are 4 different ones you can select from rookie, warrior, hero, and immortal, and I am glad that I did not go any higher than warrior, because when I tell you that this game packs a punch in the difficulty department, it really does want you to learn certain mechanics to get good enough to pass bosses and to pass major events within the game. The parry system is something that I really enjoy, because you do have to time it just right, but it's not so aggressive that it feels impossible to pull off. I also am very big into having some kind of dodge roll mechanic, and you have a nice slide that you can do where if you're fighting a big boss on screen, you can slide underneath them to get to the other side. This works very well for getting around a room full of enemies if you're getting attacked by multiple foes, and it really felt fast and responsive the entire time. You can also hold down that slide button to run when you're traversing. And one thing that stood out to me throughout my play session was the correct balance of super intense, engaging, high stress combat, but then balanced with that exploration, again to kind of reference Metroid Dread, where you have a giant world that you can go in truly any direction. There is of course a loose correct way to go to progress the main story, but you do have sections of the game where it's mainly a boss fight and some enemies on screen, and then you'll have another section where it's mainly exploration. The map system helps you keep all of this intact, and one feature that I really liked they included in the map system was the ability to actually mark a specific location with a screenshot. So if you know you're right near a treasure chest and you can't get to it yet, because we will talk about upgrades in just a moment, you can indeed open your map, take a screenshot of that location, and it's going to put it as a map marker, and you can see the image on screen of what it was that you might want to come back for. Now, I also love the fact that they had multiple upgrades that I could unlock early on in the game. Initially, I did not have a bow and arrow, and I also did not have a mid-air dash, but I was able to unlock those as I progressed the story. This is that really hook you in type of feeling that I get when going through Metroidvania games, where you feel like your character is becoming that much more capable and that much stronger. And it's also something that I love to see in level design, where you are going to see things early on that you just can't get to yet, that you have to remember to come back to once you have the correct upgrade or the correct new ability, and that is very present in this game. The bow and arrow is an excellent addition that once I got it, it just felt like second nature to start using it. And the mid-air dash is maybe my favorite upgrade, because it opens up so many more possibilities when it comes to the platforming aspect. And the platforming is something that feels extremely crisp and responsive, and really one of the high points of the gameplay for me as well. It's nice to have those moments where you are just getting bombarded by enemies on screen and surviving that, and then maybe going through a boss fight, but then also having the break up puzzle solving sections where you have to figure out how to get to a certain platform on screen, all while potentially avoiding. There's even like stealth sections where you don't want to get captured by an enemy that's chasing you, that's very capable of getting you, by the way. And it's nice to have that mix in gameplay. Also along on the upgrades front is a really cool amulet system. and you have so many that you can equip, but only so many available slots. Certain stronger amulets take up multiple slots just to equip, but you have things like increased melee attacks in the air's attack damage, one that will restore your health slightly from attacking enemies. And so there's kind of some strategy into what you're equipping to your character based off your playstyle, which I absolutely love to see. There is a blacksmith where you can upgrade your equipment, which is also part of that hook to feel like you're constantly progressing. And all of these use crystals, which are essentially the in-game currency that you will get from traversing the world and taking out enemies, in addition to completing certain puzzles and platforming sections that you can get to a big chunk of crystals that's on the ground or ceiling or somewhere that you have to basically bust them and then pick them up. The map to me seemed to be very large, but fortunately you do get to a point where you can actually open up some fast travel points to save on the backtracking that you naturally sometimes do in a Metroidvania style game, and everything here just feels masterfully done. What they really did right with the gameplay, in my opinion, is make it so crisp and so responsive that you know that you are the one who is either going to get good enough to progress and overcome all the challenges, or you were the one that let yourself down with your reaction time, or not thinking about the right combo to pull off or parry at the right time, and figuring out the enemies and bosses attack patterns and how you should respond to them is part of the fun and enjoyment of the die and try to go back and get good enough to proceed. Some of the larger boss battles in this game are really impressive from a technical standpoint as well. They have really cool moments where you're fighting something that's literally 5 times the size of you and you have to dodge its attacks, and it has a whole intro cutscene that sets up the fight, in addition to multiple forms throughout the health bar where you take it down to half health and then it's going to be completely different move patterns, or the boss in question just gets that much more powerful. So all very positive things to say about this here. The story is the other portion I want to touch on briefly, where they do a good job introducing all of these characters with very engaging cutscenes with what you can tell like is a deep lore behind what is going on here, and even a swerve within the first few hours of the game that I won't reveal to you guys, but I was taken back by surprise as far as what was going on because I didn't see any of it coming. I only scratched the surface of the story of this game, and it's definitely not something that felt like it was super prevalent. You're not going to be sitting back and watching a ton of cutscenes, but they are there in the right moments to give you context to what's going on and why you're on the adventure that you're on, and the balance of story cutscenes to gameplay feels just right for me. So if you can't tell already, as somebody who is a fan of Metroidvania style games, this is one of those that is at the top of my list of 2024 games that I cannot wait to play. It is out January 18th, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and this is one that I can comfortably recommend to many of you out there. Now, full disclosure, I did not play the Nintendo Switch version of this game, but rather a version via PC, so I cannot speak to the technical launch state of what Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will be like on the Nintendo Switch, but I can see it as the perfect fit for that platform, because this will definitely be the type of game that I would enjoy playing in handheld mode in addition to docked. But if you are somebody who enjoys modern day Metroidvania gameplay experiences, I definitely think you have to pick this one up day one if possible. I had a similar feeling of joy playing through the very early portions of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown as I did to when traversing through Metroid Dread for the first time, which is really saying something quite positive for me. So I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, whether or not you're interested in Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. What do you think from the gameplay footage that you've seen on screen here today? Are you more or less interested in it now that you've seen some more detailed hands-on thoughts and previews? And is it the type of game that you think you will indeed pick up and add into your Nintendo Switch collection or some other console that you own? And are you like me and you just can't wait for January 18th to get here at this point in time? Also, last note, there will be a demo available that you can check out as of January 11th. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Big thank you to Ubisoft once again for the invitation to play this game early so I could share it with you all. Go watch yesterday's video next, which is on screen right now if you haven't already. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.